Joran sat still, staring at the blinking red light above the door. The office was too quiet for a man who had just lost his job. The factory manager, a short man with a shiny metal badge and tired eyes, looked down at the table and then back up at Joran. "I'm sorry." "It's not personal," the manager said. His voice low. Joren didn't answer. He kept his hands folded in his lap. 12 years. 12 years of welding, programming, fixing broken machines gone in just 5 minutes. No reason given, no farewell. Just a small bag of his tools and a badge marked "Terminated." "You'll receive your final credits through your port account," the manager added. Joren nodded once. He stood up slowly, picked up his bag and left the office. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. The factory halls were cold and metallic. Pipes lined the ceiling, and soft blue lights ran along the walls. Joran's boots echoed as he walked down the corridor. No one said goodbye. Most workers kept their heads down. A few glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Outside, the space station's lower district buzzed with life. Ravel Prime was an old orbital hub filled with workers, traders, smugglers, and gangs. A layer of smoke floated in the air. Neon lights flickered on rusted walls. Vendors shouted offers for old tech, synth food, and black market chips. Joran kept walking, avoiding the crowd. His small room was in Sector 8, near the edge of the station. It wasn't much, just a single cot, a food slot, and a wash unit. He opened the door with a scan of his finger and stepped inside. He dropped the bag on the floor, sat on the cot, and stared at the wall. The silence was heavy. Joran didn't cry. He didn't curse. He just sat there, lost in thought. He had no friends here, no family. Just a routine he followed every day. Wake up, go to the factory, work, return home, sleep. Now even that was gone. He leaned forward, pulled up the floor panel under his cot, and reached inside. From the hidden space, he took out a small metal box, old and worn. He held it gently, as if it were a fragile memory, before he could open it. A loud knock hit his door. "Hey, old man, open up!" A rough voice shouted. Joren paused. He recognized the voice. It was Krem, a low-level member of the Coils, one of the gangs that controlled this part of the station. He stood up and opened the door. 3 young men stood outside, dressed in dark jackets with glowing snake symbols on the sleeves. Krem, the tallest, smirked at him. "Lost your job, huh?" he said, stepping forward. "Maybe now you can clean our boots for credits." The others laughed. Joren stayed quiet. Another gang member, shorter and thin, poked Joran's chest. "You always look down on us, old man. Think you're better because you worked in a factory?" "I don't want trouble," Joran said calmly. Krem laughed. "Trouble? No. We just want to welcome you to unemployment." Suddenly, he grabbed Joran's bag from the floor and tossed it into the hallway. Tools scattered everywhere. The short one kicked a wrench down the corridor. Joran's hands clenched, but he stayed still. "You're not useful to anyone now," Krem said. "You're just another broken part on this station." The third gang member, silent until now, stepped forward and whispered, "Let's go. He's not worth it." They left, laughing, their footsteps fading into the distance. Joren slowly bent down and picked up each tool, one by one. He didn't look angry. He looked tired in a way only someone who had lost everything could be. Once inside again, he locked the door and returned to the box. He opened it. Inside was a wristband made of strange black metal. It hummed softly, as if it were alive. Alongside it was a folded photo, faded and torn, of a younger Joran in a black suit, standing beside 5 others. Behind them, a banner. Read, "Sentinel Black Unit 1-2, Guardians of the Unknown." He put the photo aside and stared at the wristband. He hadn't touched it in years. He had sworn never to use it again. But now something inside him had changed. Not because of the gang. Not because of the job, but because he realized this place, the station, the system, it didn't care about people like him. People who gave everything and were thrown away like trash. Joren placed the wristband on his arm. It clicked into place, adjusting perfectly to his skin. Blue lines lit up across the surface. System online. A robotic voice said softly. He took a deep breath. The air felt different. Stronger. Cleaner. He stood up and walked to the small window that looked out at the dark stars beyond the metal shell of the station. They wanted to see what I'd do next, he said to no one. They're about to find out. Joren stood quietly in his room, staring at the black wristband on his arm. The lights on its surface moved slowly, like a heartbeat. It had been years since he last wore it. The weight of it brought back memories, some good, many painful. He sat on the edge of his cot, leaned back, and let the memories return. Years ago, before he came to Ravel Prime, Joren was part of a secret human defense unit. The unit was called Sentinel Black. It was created to protect human colonies from deep space threats, pirates, alien tech, and things that didn't have names. They were trained in silence, lived in shadows, and were erased from all public records. Joren was one of the best in his unit. He wasn't the strongest, but he was calm, focused, and smart. He learned how to move without sound, how to read hidden code, and how to fight enemies far stronger than him. The wristband was part of his gear, an advanced device made from alien materials. It boosted his strength, speed, and senses. But it also came with a cost. Overuse could damage the body, even the mind. Their final mission changed everything. The unit was sent to an outpost on the edge of known space. A strange signal had been picked up, something not human. When Sentinel Black arrived, they found the outpost abandoned. Doors broken, walls marked with unknown symbols. The deeper they went, the stranger things became. They found a machina. Glowing cube floating in midair. It wasn't active yet. The moment they tried to move it, everything went wrong. A wave of energy shot out, shutting down their systems. One of the team members vanished in front of their eyes. Another went mad. Speaking in words no one understood, they barely escaped with their lives. The government called the mission a disaster. Sentinel Black was shut down. The surviving members were given two choices: disappear or live under false identities. Joren chose the second option. He erased his past, changed his name, and came to Ravel Prime to live a quiet life as a factory worker. He locked away his gear, his memories, and tried to forget. But some things don't stay buried. Now, years later, the same quiet man who hid from the past found himself pushed too far. The gang didn't know what they had awakened. Joren stood and walked to the mirror. His reflection looked older, worn, and tired, but behind his eyes, something sharp had returned. The wristband adjusted slightly, scanning his vitals. Enhancement levels, low. Core stable, the voice from the device said. He turned away and left the room, walking through the narrow halls of Sector 8. The lights above flickered. People moved fast, heads down. Most didn't want trouble. Most avoided the gaze of the coils, who ruled this part of the station with fear. Joren passed a small alley and paused. He remembered something, a hidden relay panel behind one of the walls. Years ago, he had used it to track security paths and factory data. He moved toward the wall and pried open a metal plate. Behind it was the panel, old, but still working. He tapped into it using a small wire from his wristband. Data appeared on the inside of his vision, fed directly into his neural link. He scanned names, movement paths, recent activity. The coils weren't just harassing people anymore. They were smuggling items, large crates that were unmarked. Joren zoomed in on one of the entries. The crate had come from Dock 12 and was sent to an unused tunnel near the reactor levels. That area was off limits, even during his factory job. No one was allowed near the reactor tunnels unless they had Special clearance, something was wrong. He disconnected from the panel and moved on. Joran needed answers. And he knew where to find them. The security office for Sector 8 was hidden inside a worn building with broken lights. Most people didn't bother reporting crimes. The guards were underpaid, overworked, and sometimes bought by gangs. But Joran knew one man he could trust: Tareen, an old friend from the early days on the station. Tareen had once served in the station's outer patrol before joining security. He wasn't part of the old unit, but he knew how to listen and keep secrets. Joran knocked on the back door. After a few seconds, it opened slightly. "Joran?" Tareen blinked in surprise. "You're not supposed to be here." "We need to talk," Joran said. They sat inside a small office surrounded by screens and old terminals. Tareen poured 2 cups of synth coffee and leaned back. "You disappeared for years. I thought you were just another quiet worker. Now people say you stood up to the Coils?" "I didn't fight them," Joran replied. "Not yet." Tareen raised an eyebrow. "You planning to?" "I need to know what's going on near the reactor. I found records of shipments going through restricted tunnels." "They're hiding something," Tareen sighed. "There've been rumors. Big crates." "No ID. I asked my boss, but he told me to stay out of it." "Someone is backing the Coils," Joran said. "They're not just a street gang anymore. They have money, protection, and access." Tareen looked uneasy. "If you go after them, they'll come for you. This isn't a small fight." "I'm not trying to start a war," Joran said. "I just want to know the truth." Tareen paused, then slid a small chip across the table. "This is all I could get. Security feed from Dock 12 2 nights ago." Joran nodded and stood up. "Thanks, Tareen. I owe you." As he left the building, he inserted the chip into his wristband. Feed began to play in his vision. He watched as a group of masked men unloaded a crate the size of a small room. It glowed faintly from inside. One of the men placed a strange device on top, something that looked alien. Joran froze. He had seen that shape before. Back on the outpost, the same kind of tech that nearly killed his unit. He clenched his fists. This wasn't just a gang problem. It was something far bigger. Joran walked quickly through the lower corridors of Ravel Prime, his mind heavy with what he had just seen. The security footage from Tareen showed something dangerous, something not from Earth. The crate glowed with the same energy he had seen years ago, back during the mission that destroyed his old unit. Now that same danger was sitting in the center of a crowded station filled with innocent people. He needed to act fast. The wristband on his arm stayed silent, but its sensors were active. A soft blue light traced across its surface as it scanned his surroundings, listening for unusual signals. Joran ducked into a storage hallway and opened a small panel in the wall. Inside was an old maintenance screen. He tapped a few keys, linked the wristband, and pulled up the internal map of the station. A red square blinked near the reactor zone. It matched the area where the strange crate had been moved. He zoomed in. That area was completely off limits, even to high-level staff. But now several names showed up on the access log, people he didn't recognize. Some of them had no official job records. It was clear the Coils had help from someone with power. Time to find out who's really behind this, Joran said to himself. A few hours later, Joran made his way to the main station plaza. Bright lights hung above the wide open space. People moved in all directions: traders, workers, children, and officers. The market was alive with noise and color. But Joran wasn't there to shop. He had arranged a meeting. In the corner of the plaza stood a woman in a gray jacket, arms crossed. Her name was Risa, a mid-level officer who once worked on security upgrades across the station. Joran had helped her quietly a few years ago when she got trapped during a lockdown. Since then, she owed him a favor. "You really know how to find trouble," Risa said as Joran approached. "It always finds me first," he replied with a small smile. They sat down at a small table near a noodle vendor. "I need your help," Joran said, keeping his voice low. I found a cargo transfer near the reactor, something illegal. Something dangerous. The coils are involved. Risa's face turned serious. You're sure? He nodded. I saw the cargo. It's alien tech. If they activate it, we could lose the entire station. Risa looked around, then leaned closer. I've heard rumors. Higher-ups getting quiet payoffs. Access codes being changed in secret. Even our patrols have been reduced near the core levels. But if I report it, I could lose my post or worse. I'm not asking you to fight, Joran said. Just get me clearance to the reactor tunnel. One time, that's all. Risa looked uncertain. You're just one man. What can you do against a gang with that kind of power? Joran looked into her eyes. I wasn't always a factory worker. There was a pause. Then Risa gave a small nod. You'll have your access, but if anyone asks, I never saw you. Later that night, Joran sat in his room again. He had downloaded all the maps of the lower decks, studied the old vents, and marked the fastest routes in and out. His plan was forming. Still, something didn't sit right with him. He couldn't do this alone. Not for long, but he didn't know who to trust. He opened the small photo from his box again, the one of his old unit. 5 faces stared back at him. Most were gone now, scattered or dead. But one, maybe one could help. He tapped his wristband. Connect to ComNet. Search for alias Brent Calder. It took a while, but a response came. Alias found. Current location, Sector 11, Engineering Deck. Joran closed the connection and stood up. Sector 11 was darker than most areas of the station. Power lines ran across the ceiling like veins, and old machines sat unused along the walls. Joran followed the path until he reached a small repair booth. Inside, a large man sat working on a broken cleaning bot. Brank, Joran said softly. Man turned. He was older, with a scar across his right eye. His face tightened the moment he saw Joran. Didn't think I'd ever see you again, Brank said. I didn't think I'd come back, Joran replied. Brank stood up. What do you want? There's something on this station. Something we saw once before. I need your help. Brank laughed once, but it wasn't a happy sound. We lost 3 of our own that day. And now you want to chase that nightmare again? If we don't stop it, Joran said, it'll be worse than before. There was silence. Then Brank sighed. You always bring bad news, Joran. But you never run from it, Joran said. Brank looked down at his hands, then slowly nodded. All right, one last time. Back in the main control room of the coil's hidden base, 3 men stood around a glowing map of the station. Krem, the tall gang member who had mocked Joran earlier, tapped on the screen. He's digging, checking places we locked down. The leader of the group, a man with smooth black gloves and sharp eyes, narrowed his gaze. Joran was part of Sentinel Black, he said. I thought he disappeared. He's back now, Krem said, annoyed. Should I deal with him? No, the leader said coldly. Not yet. Let him come. He wants the truth. He'll find it. And when he does, it'll be too late. They all looked at the map. The crate near the reactor glowed brighter. Soon, the leader whispered, this station will change forever. That night, Joran stood near an old tunnel entrance with his gear ready. The door slowly opened, thanks to Risa's clearance codes. Brank joined him, holding a heavy scanner. You sure we're ready for this? Brank asked. No, Joran said honestly, but we're not turning back. The 2 men stepped into the darkness, the door closing behind them. Whatever was waiting in the deep parts of Ravel Prime, it wouldn't stay hidden much longer. The tunnel was dark, silent, and cold. Joran moved slowly, each step careful. The wristband on his arm glowed with a soft blue light, scanning ahead for movement or traps. Beside him, Brank held a portable scanner. The screen flickered with signals heat. Traces, energy waves, and signs of motion deep below. They were close. The air in the reactor tunnels felt different. Not just cold, but heavy, like something old and dangerous had been left behind. Joen remembered this feeling. He had felt it years ago on the outpost where his unit fell. Something's ahead. Brank whispered. They turned a corner and saw it. A large black crate sat in the center of the tunnel. Cables ran from it to the walls. 4 gang members guarded it, all armed and alert. But what stood out wasn't the weapons, it was the machine on top of the crate. It pulsed with an alien light, one that seemed alive. "That's it," Joran said, his voice tight. "Same pattern, same tech." "Can we shut it down?" Brank asked. "Not yet. We need to know more." They pulled back into the shadows. Joran touched his wristband and activated its stealth function. The light dimmed and a soft hum wrapped around his body. He became nearly invisible to sensors. "I'll go first," he said. "Wait here." Brank nodded and crouched behind a pipe. Joran moved like a shadow. He slid across the floor, silent and unseen. Years of training guided him. He reached a wall near the crate and placed a small disc on it. The disc blinked green. It would record everything and transmit data back. Then he crept closer. One of the gang members turned slightly, sensing something but saw nothing. Joren slipped behind him and tapped his neck with a small shock pin. The man dropped without a sound. The others didn't notice. One by one, Joran took them down. He didn't kill. He didn't need to. The last guard turned, just as Joran stepped forward. The man raised his weapon, but Joran was faster. A quick punch, a twist, and the weapon was on the ground. The guard hit the wall and slid down, unconscious. "All clear," Joran whispered into his mic. Brank hurried forward, scanning the crate. His eyes widened. "This isn't just a power source," he said. "It's a transmitter. A strong one, long range, alien design, just like before." Joran nodded. "They're trying to send a signal." "To who?" Brank asked. "I don't." "Want to find out." Suddenly, the machine on the crate lit up, brighter than before. It began to hum, and the wall shook slightly. "It's starting!" Brank shouted. Joren acted fast. He ripped open the side panel of the crate and found wires human and alien tech fused together. He pulled out a plasma tool from his belt and sliced the main line. The machine sparked, screamed like metal tearing, then went dark. The hum stopped. Brank let out a breath. "That was too close." Joran turned to him. "We just stopped one crate. There could be more." Brank checked the scanner again. 3 more locations. One in the docking bay, one near the water reserves, and one close to the central grid. "They're spreading them out," Joran said. "Trying to cover the whole station." "We need help," Brank said. "We can't take all of them alone." Back in the upper levels of the station, news was spreading. People whispered about a ghost moving through the shadows, taking down gang members without being seen. A camera drone had captured a blurred image, just enough to show a man with something glowing on his wrist. Some called him a rebel, others a hero. The coils were angry. Krem stormed into their hidden control room. He hit the tunnel site, wiped the whole team. The leader stood calmly in front of the map, hands behind his back. "Let him play," the leader said. "The more attention he gets, the more the people will hope." Krem looked confused. "Hope? Why would we want that?" "Because when we take it away," the leader replied, "they'll break." He tapped a button. On the screen, the remaining 3 crates lit up. One of them showed a countdown. "Soon, this station won't be a hiding place for the weak," he said. "It will be a signal to the stars." Joran and Brank returned to Sector 8, moving through back tunnels to avoid the patrols. They reached a small underground space, once a storage room, now filled with broken chairs and leftover tech. Joren looked around and nodded. "This will do." "For what?" Brank asked. Joren sat down and placed his wristband on the table. We need people. Brave ones, not fighters, but workers, builders, thinkers. People tired of being afraid. Brank raised an eyebrow. You're building a team? No, Joren said. I'm building a resistance. Over the next 2 days, word spread quietly. A few workers, ex-guards, and even a medic joined them. Each had lost something to the gangs, family, jobs, homes. They were ready. Ian trained them. Simple things first. How to move without sound. How to block a camera. How to protect yourself. He used old techniques from his Sentinel days. They learned fast. He gave each one a purpose. A reason to fight. He didn't talk about revenge. He talked about survival. About freedom. One of the new members, a young woman named Tella, asked, "Why are you doing this, Joren? You could have run away." Joren looked at her, then at the others. "Because I know what happens if we do nothing. I've seen it before. I lost people before. I won't let it happen again." That night, a patrol of coils moved through the corridor near the central grid. They didn't know they were being watched. Joren signaled his team. They moved quickly, disabling lights, locking doors, and surrounding the patrol without being seen. When the coils finally noticed, it was too late. No one was hurt, but all their weapons and gear were taken. The message was clear. Someone was fighting back. Krem slammed his fist on the control table. "He's building an army." The leader of the coils smiled. "Good," he said. "Let him come." He turned to the glowing crate near the wall. "It will make our victory even louder." The next morning, Ravel Prime felt different. People walked with whispers on their lips. Some looked over their shoulders. Others smiled quietly, as if holding on to a secret hope. Word had spread. The coils had been hit again. No one knew exactly who did it, but rumors pointed to a man with a glowing wristband. Some called him the Ghost. Others said he was a former soldier. But Joren didn't care about names. He stood in the center of the underground room, surrounded by his growing team. Tella, the sharp-eyed woman from the energy deck, handed him a datapad. "Another shipment just moved to Dock 9, she said. "We think it's the last crate." Joren scanned the data. "Time?" "Tonight, around shift change, less security." Brank stepped forward. "I checked Dock 9's layout. Lots of cover. We can get in, hit fast, and get out before they know." Joren looked around at the other 7 people now. Not soldiers, not trained, but each one determined, each one ready. He nodded. "Then, we strike tonight. This is the last crate. If we stop it, their plan fails." "But we don't even know the full plan," Tella said. "Not yet," Joren agreed. "But we're close." That afternoon, station alarms rang out. Joren paused near a corridor vent and listened. A voice echoed through the speakers. "Warning, wanted criminal active in Sector 8. Subject is armed and dangerous." He knew who they meant, the image on the station screen showed him blurred, but clear enough. A factory worker turned fighter. No name was given, but anyone watching knew. "They're calling you the enemy now," Brank said, walking beside him. "They're scared," Joren replied. "What? If the station turns on us?" Brank asked. "Then we keep moving. We do what's right, even when it's not popular." They disappeared into the tunnels once again. Inside a luxury office high above the station, a meeting took place. The leader of the coils, known only as Vex, sat across from a tall man in a corporate uniform. His name was Director Klein, a man who controlled most of the trade routes on Ravel Prime. "You promised a smooth operation," Klein said. "Now my docks are being raided," Vex smiled calmly. "It's just one man. He's not a threat. He's becoming a symbol," Klein said coldly. "People are talking. Workers are asking questions." "They won't ask for long," Vex replied. "When the last crate is activated, they'll forget about hope. They'll be too busy surviving." Klein leaned back. You'd better be right, Vex stood. I always am. That night, the resistance moved. Ian led the way, dressed in a dark jacket and boots with silent solace. His wristband glowed gently, guiding the path. Tella carried a portable jammer. Brank handled the tech override tools. The others watched the rear. They moved through supply tunnels, past broken pipes and flickering lights. Every sound mattered. Every step had to be perfect. Finally, they reached .9. It was quiet, too quiet. Ian raised his hand. Everyone stopped. He scanned the area with his wristband. Motion sensors. Trip lines, they're expecting us. Can we get past? Tella asked. Ian smiled slightly. We're not going in the front. He pointed up. Above them, a maintenance pipe led across the ceiling. Narrow, dusty, but just wide enough. One by one, they climbed inside. The crawl was slow. The metal creaked under their weight. Joran moved carefully, reaching a vent above the crate area. He peered down. 3 guards, 1 engineer. The crate sat on a hover lift, pulsing softly with energy. He tapped his wristband. Drop gas, he whispered. Tella activated a small canister and dropped it through a side pipe. A hiss filled the room. In seconds, the guards collapsed, knocked out. Not harmed. The team dropped in. Brank ran to the crate. Same tech, same pulse. I'll shut it down. Joran stood watch, but something was wrong. The crate beeped twice. Trap! Joran shouted. The room exploded in sound. Smoke filled the air. A flash grenade burst near the door. Shouts followed. They're here. Coils poured in from all sides. Fall back. Joran yelled. The team moved fast, dodging beams, returning stun shots. Joran fought like a shadow, quick, controlled. He used the wristband strength boost to disarm a gang member and throw another against the wall. Brank grabbed the crate's core and pulled it free. Got it. Joran grabbed his arm. Go. The team raced back into the tunnels. Behind them, alarms screamed and enemy voices chased them. They reached a dead-end gate. It's locked. Tella cried. Joran slammed his wristband against the control panel. Sparks flew. The gate opened halfway. Go under, he ordered. 1 by 1, they slid through. Joran held the line, firing a pulse shot at the tunnel behind. When the last member was through, he dove under and rolled up as the gate slammed shut. Silence followed. Just breathing, tired, shaken, but alive, they returned to their base, the stolen crate core placed in the center of the room. Brank scanned it. It's just like the others, but this one has something else. He connected it to a secure terminal. A file opened. Tella leaned in. A message? Joran read the screen. It was from Vex. To the people of Ravel Prime. You live in darkness. You are forgotten by Earth, but I bring you light, a new signal, one that will rise above governments and war. When the station glows, the stars will answer, and you will belong to something greater. Joran's jaw tightened. He's not just running a gang, he said. He's trying to contact something out there. Aliens? Someone whispered. Maybe, Joran said. Or maybe something worse. Later, as the others rested, Joran stood alone near the window. He looked out into space. Black stars and distant lights surrounded the station. He had tried to live a quiet life. He had tried to forget the past. But now, he was part of something bigger again. Something dangerous. And he wasn't alone. From behind, Tella walked up. You okay? Joran nodded. We stopped one plan. But more are coming. We have to be ready. She smiled. We're with you. Joran looked at her. Then back out at the stars. Good, he said quietly. Because this is just the beginning. Joran couldn't sleep. The dark room around him was quiet. Only the faint hum of machines and the soft breathing of his team could be heard. He stood at the edge of the small base, looking at the screen that showed the message they found in the crate. The words kept echoing in his mind. When this station glows, the stars will answer. What did Vex mean? Who or what would answer? Tella walked in, holding 2 mugs of warm synth tea. You didn't rest again, she said, offering one to Joran. He took it silently. We need you sharp, she added. The others look up to you. I know, Joran said. He sipped the drink. But we're running out of time. Vex isn't just trying to control the station. He's trying to signal something. You think it's not human? Joran looked at the glowing words again. I think. Vex made a deal with something not from Earth. The next day, Joran called everyone together. The stolen crate core sat on the center table, wired into their system. A map of the station glowed above it, showing blinking lights, 8 dots spread across different sectors. What are those? Brank asked. Signal emitters, Joran explained. Hidden inside the crates. They're not just weapons. They're beacons. For calling something? Tella asked. Yes, Joran said. We just stopped one, but 7 others are still active. A silence filled the room. If all of them power on together, Joran continued, Ravel Prime will send a signal strong enough to reach deep space. And I think someone's waiting to hear it. But what happens then? Another team member S.Joren looked at them. I don't know, but I don't want to find out. Meanwhile, in the high chambers of the station, Director Klein slammed his fist against the table. You told me these crates were safe. He shouted. Vex sat calmly across from him, arms folded. They are safe for those who matter. Klein's voice lowered. The workers are panicking. That man Joran, he's turning into a hero. If this spreads, we lose control. Vex leaned forward. Control is already gone. But when the signal completes, you won't need workers. You won't need loyalty. You'll have power like nothing before. Klein hesitated. And if it goes wrong? Vex smiled. It won't. I've already made contact. Back at the base, Joran and his team prepared for their next move. They split into groups, 2 teams to find and disable the signal crates, while Joran stayed behind to study the remaining data. Tella led one group to Sector 3, where a crate was hidden in a food storage hub. Brank went to Sector 7, where a beacon was wired into the shipyard's power grid. Hours passed. Tella's voice crackled over the comm. We found it. Crate's shielded, but I'm disabling it now. Static followed. Then a loud buzz. Done. Brank's voice came next. Same here. Shutting it down. Now. 2 more dots on the map faded. Joren smiled. 5 left. That night, something strange happened. As Joran looked over the remaining crate locations, the map flickered. A red light flashed near the central station core. What's that? He asked. Tella checked the system. It's new. A signal spike from the main tower. Brank leaned closer. That's not a crate. That's the broadcast tower. The screen filled with static. Then a voice broke through. To the people of Ravel Prime, you are not forgotten. You are chosen. Kalan. The voice wasn't human. It was deep, metallic, and echoed unnaturally. Soon the gateway will open. Join us or be removed. Then silence. The entire room went still. That wasn't Vex, Tella whispered. Joren stood slowly. No, that was something else. The next morning, the station felt heavier. Security drones moved faster. Streets were quieter. People looked afraid. Joren and his team moved through the tunnels, heading toward the central station tower. If the signal had moved there, it meant Vex was no longer just hiding crates. He was preparing for a full activation. They reached the base of the tower. Armed guards stood at every corner. Lights scanned the area. Joren looked at the team. We don't fight here, we sneak in. He activated the wristband. Its glow dimmed to almost nothing. A stealth mode he rarely used. Tella and Brank followed. Close. They climbed a side ladder, avoiding cameras, and reached a maintenance hatch. Joran opened it slowly. Inside, wires hummed. Energy pulsed. They crawled through the ducts until they reached the broadcast room. What they saw made them freeze. The room was empty, except for a single crate connected to the tower. Wires fed into it. It glowed brighter than the others. Joran pulled out his scanner. "This crate isn't just a beacon," he said. "It's a portal starter." "A what?" Brank asked. "If it finishes charging ... something will come through." "From where?" Tella asked, voice low. "Another world," Joran replied. "Or another galaxy. Maybe even another reality." Tella stepped back. "Then we destroy it now." Joran pulled out an EMP stick. "One blast and this thing is done." But just as he moved forward, a voice stopped him. "Step away." Vex stood at the doorway. He held a small controller in one hand and wore a calm smile. "You don't understand what this means," Vex said. "We are the beginning of something greater." Joran faced him. "No, you're the beginning of chaos." Vex pressed a button. The crate sparked and surged. Light filled the room. Joran didn't wait. He threw the M stick. A blast of blue energy filled the space. Sparks flew. The crate shuddered. Vex screamed, diving back as the device shut down. The glow stopped. Silence returned. The team ran. Later, back in the underground base, the team watched as all signals went dark. Every crate, every beacon, every dot, they were all offline. "We did it," Brank said, exhaling. "It's over." Joran nodded. "For now." Tella looked at him. "You think they'll try again?" Joran stared at the blank screen. "Not them." He looked toward the stars outside. "But whatever was listening, it knows we're here now." Joran stood in the middle of the quiet command room. The lights from the ceiling flickered softly. The large screen showed a blank map. No more glowing crates. No signals. Just silence. But his heart was not calm. "It feels too quiet," Tella said behind him. She leaned on the table, arms crossed, her eyes tired but alert. "It is," Joran replied. "We shut down the beacons, but that message, it wasn't just a warning, it was a test. And now they're waiting." Brank stepped into the room, carrying a small tablet. "Got something," he said. "This morning, 3 people on the outer ring reported seeing lights in the sky, moving fast, not ships. Something different." Joran took the tablet. The video was shaky, recorded from a worker's old datapad. A glowing object darted across the sky, then vanished. "Not a ship, not natural. They're watching us." Joran whispered. Down in the damaged labs, Vex sat alone in a containment cell. His face was bruised from the EMP blast. The spark of confidence in his eyes was gone. Joran entered the room with slow steps. He stared at the man who started it all. "You thought you were the first to speak to them," Joran said. "But I think they've spoken to others, long before us." Vex didn't reply. "You opened a door," Joran continued. "But you didn't understand what was on the other side." "They made promises," Vex finally muttered. "Said they would give power. Fix this broken world." Joran leaned closer. "That power comes with a price." "They said I would lead," Vex said, almost to himself. "They showed me images, machines, stars, entire cities obeying one voice. I thought it would be me." "It never was," Joran said. "You were just the tool." Later that day, Joran gathered the team in the old station dome. It was once a garden, now half-wrecked. Vines grew over broken glass. Sunlight pushed through the cracks. "We need to tell the people," Tella said. "Everything." Joran shook his head. "Not yet." "Why?" Brank asked. "They deserve to know." "They'll panic," Joran said. "And panic is exactly what they want. If fear spreads, people will become easy to control." Just like Vex, the group went silent. "So what do we do?" Tella asked. We prepare, Joran replied. And we make Ravel Prime strong again, not with weapons, but with unity. Weeks passed. The station, once divided in tents, began to change. Joren and his team shared parts of the truth about the crates, the danger, and how workers stopped it. Not about the alien voice. Not yet. People listened. The workers came together to rebuild damaged areas. Old gangs dropped their weapons. The supply lines were reopened. And the outer sectors, once forgotten, lit up with life again, for the first time in years. Hope returned to Ravel Prime. But Joran knew it was only the beginning. One evening, while watching the stars from the outer platform, Joran saw something unusual. A distant star blinked. Then another dot. Then slowly, a small object entered view like a black dot against the stars. Tella walked up beside him. "You see it too?" she asked. Jor. Yeah, nodded. It wasn't moving fast. It wasn't sending signals. It was just there watching. "Think." "It's them?" she whispered. "Yes," Joran said. "They're checking to see what's left. What do we do if they come back?" Joran looked down at the station below, lights glowing, people working, children playing in the repaired courtyard. "We show them that this world isn't theirs to take," he said. "Not anymore." The next day, Joran walked into the main control center. On the big screen, he activated a message, a broadcast not to the people on the station, but beyond it. His voice was steady. "To whoever is listening," he said, "we know you tried to reach us through a false messenger. We stopped him." He paused. "We are not your tools. We are not afraid. And we are not alone." He looked at the team standing behind him. Tella, Brank, others who fought beside him. "If you come in peace, then speak clearly. If you come to rule, turn away. Ravel Prime stands ready." He pressed send. The signal went out into space. Back on the outer platform, Joran stood alone again, watching the stars. This time, there was no blinking dot, just stillness. The wind hummed softly. Tella joined him, holding 2 cups of synth tea. "Will they come?" she asked. "One day," Joran said. "But when they do, we won't be a broken station anymore. We'll be something stronger." He took the cup, smiled faintly. "The fired man they laughed at," he said quietly. "Now they call him leader." "You earned it," Tella said. "No," Joran said, eyes still on the stars. "We earned it." Far above, the stars remained silent, but Ravel Prime was no longer afraid. It was ready.